Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode. Some of you may have watched a video that I posted a couple of months back regarding Jordan Peterson's views on Israel and Palestine. Back then, I was working on posting a couple of videos regarding a book that I'm working on around the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And I've noticed Jordan Peterson posting a few videos with prominent pro-Zionist figures, specifically following his signing with the Daily Wire. Back then I posted a video explaining how Jordan Peterson is specifically bringing the pro-Israeli side and not bringing the other side, which isn't consistent with his approach regarding other subjects where he brings people from different aspects. He brings usually people from left and right, views pro and against, even though his views are very much more right-leaning, obviously. But usually he speaks with different types of people. Now, in that video, I mentioned how he's taking a one-sided argument and that it was important to speak with people from both sides, especially with a subject that is very sensitive, such as the Palestinian subject that many people hold very dearly to their hearts. Following that video, I posted another one regarding their both of their visit to Al-Aqsa, him and Ben Shapiro. And I even offered Ben Shapiro to speak with him directly, and then I offered even Jordan Peterson to speak with him, seeing as he hasn't spoken to any Palestinians yet. But it doesn't seem like they're interested in speaking with anyone from the Palestinian side, whether it be Palestinian who has specific views about the Israeli-Palestinian subject, or another Israeli who is just not pro-Zionist, who doesn't take the normal Israeli narrative when it comes to these things. And there are many examples in America specifically. The purpose of my video today is to explain why that approach is being taken and what's behind it. Now, Israel has an organization. You can call it an organization, but now it's more than just an organization, called Hasbara. It was previously a ministry, but then it was dissolved, and then it was devolved, and then its responsibilities went to other ministries. But now it's kind of a cross-ministerial and cross-organizational approach to promote Israeli propaganda, specifically outside of Israel. Now, the word Hasbara in Hebrew literally means explanation, which says a lot. You do need to explain your acts when you do such atrocities, to be honest with you. But nowadays it's far more than just explanation, but more to do with promoting Israeli ideas, promoting Israeli rhetoric, battling anti-Israeli rhetoric, battling pro-Palestinian movements and demonizing them, and having influential people promote Israeli rhetoric. Now, the Hasbara, like I said, is cross-organizational. So they have relations to do with security, the Foreign Office, social movements, foreign organizations, international organizations, and influential people, which is what I'm going to be talking about today. Now, like I said, their main aims are to promote Israeli propaganda and battle anti-Israeli and pro-Palestinian rhetoric by any means. When it comes to influential people, obviously there are many famous voices who are against what Israel does, against Israeli policies, against Palestinians, and Israeli actions in general. Israel is very much interested in having people on its side, especially when it comes to famous and influential people. And Israeli Hasbara regularly gets visitors to come to Israel for free, first class, free accommodation, free food, free tours, free everything. Influential, famous people on specific conditions. You basically need to promote pro-Israeli views, tweet a couple of things in social media, say nice things about Israel on social media, tag the Israeli Foreign Office, and so forth. There's a very nice example of this with Bobby Lee, who basically actually spoke about this, and you can find it online. He was basically invited to Israel, and he said he was with a group of very famous people. They received first-class treatment, went to very good hotels, free food. They were given tours with Israelis obviously explaining them everything from the Israeli side of things, obviously. And he said, but they were constantly asking him to tweet things that are good about Israel and tag, like, I think it was the Foreign Office or someone who was in connection with him, and say good things about Israel. And he was like, it was like living in hell. I would have rather not go. I would have rather stay at home and not have that trip, because they were so forceful with their approach, and they were like, you need to tag once a day, you need to tweet a couple of times, you need to say this and that. And he was like, it was like living in prison for a few days. So that's just an example of how they do things. Obviously not with everyone, but with some of the famous figures that they bring to Israel to promote their pro-Israeli and anti-Palestinian rhetoric. With Jordan Peterson specifically, Israel has fronts. So, and what I mean by fronts is organizations, whether they're media organizations, international organizations, human rights organizations, or Jewish rights organizations outside of Israel that promote Israeli ideology and battle Palestinian and pro-Palestinian rhetoric. In America, you have examples such as the ADL, AIPAC, many other organizations, and they have media fronts too. One of their media fronts is, you guessed it, the Daily Wire that Jordan Peterson signed to. So it's obviously no coincidence that when he signs to the Daily Wire, he starts promoting pro-Israeli content. Hey presto, obviously you're gonna have to. What do you think is gonna be for free? Yeah, you're gonna get a good lump sum of money, but you're gonna have to be with us, stand with us. Before I continue on this side, I wanted to go back to the influential people. It isn't just influential people, by the way. It's politicians. Politicians in the UK, in the US, from all across the world, from lots of parties, get invited for free to Israel. Free travel, some of them get money, free accommodation, and they go through the same process so that they're on Israel side and they're on their good books as well. So there's a lot of money being put into it, and the amounts are undisclosed, by the way. Because it's such a cross-organizational movement, so to speak, the budgets can come from different types of places, from different organizations, and they can be taken out, obviously, of taxpayers' money and being spent left, right, and center. Going back to Jordan Peterson and the Daily Wire. The Daily Wire is obviously a front for Israel in America. For those of you who don't know, they have lots of right-wing and extreme right-wing figures working for them and promoting Israeli ideology, Zionist ideology, anti-Palestinian rhetoric, and it includes outright racists and Islamophobes like Ben Shapiro, Peterson's best ally. He even took Jordan Peterson, some of you might have watched it, to Jerusalem, and he went to Al-Aqsa with him. In the internationally occupied part of Jerusalem. Now, I don't want to get into too many technicalities, by the way, but when it comes to international law, that part of Jerusalem is under occupation. Yet they visited there. I made a comment previously about it and about how there's even a conflict and different views as to where Mount Temple is in Judaism, and how there are different views as to if you can go there as a Jewish person or not. But let's put that aside. apart from that visit that they paid to Al-Aqsa, they also went and saw Benjamin Netanyahu. They sat with him and they made a lengthy interview with him, and sitting there basically promoting Israel all over the world. So if you're all of a sudden interested in a specific subject, the Israeli-Palestinian subject, for example, and that's to Jordan Peterson directly, you go and speak to Israelis, pro-Zionists, and Israeli politicians as well, who are on the right wing, to give your viewers a true, supposedly true view about what's happening in Israel and Palestine and in the Middle East in general. Is that the right approach? Is that the same approach that you take with other things? And with Benjamin Netanyahu specifically, you're talking about a person who's very right-wing, who's taking his last steps in forming the most extreme right-wing government in Israel. He will have ministers taking some of the most important security ministries in Israel who called and still call for the expulsion of Palestinians from their land. If any plans take place, or if these people in power give the Israeli army more powers to beat Palestinians, to kill Palestinians, and to expel Palestinians, will you take the responsibility of promoting the person who brought them to power? Will you accept responsibility if more people get killed due to Israeli policies and giving them a free hand to kill people, imprison them, and implement a brutal apartheid regime against them, specifically in the West Bank? Will you hold that responsibility? Or will you say, oh no, I was just speaking with the guy, I didn't mean to do anything? And it doesn't work like that, especially when it comes to politics. When you're giving a platform for people who hold such obnoxious racist views and implement them on people and have been implementing them on people for so long, then you're a part of what these people do. If they're criminals, you're just as criminal as them. If they commit atrocities, you commit atrocities. It isn't just about you, it isn't just about views. At the end of the day, when you give a platform to someone who calls for the killing of people, or whose allies or close allies call for the killing of people based on their identity, these people chant, their audiences, you need to understand here, they chant death to Arabs regularly. Now they're trying to change it and say, oh, death to terrorists instead of Arabs, but they chant death to Arabs regularly, bluntly. And their leaders are in power. They're calling for the death of people based on their identity, and you're promoting them. Do you not think that there's anything wrong with that? And is it morally acceptable to have people and promote them with such backward, violent, and dangerous views? We're not just talking about ordinary people, ordinary politicians, or what have you. You're talking about people in power who implement what they want and what their right-wing allies want and what their right-wing allies' audience wants, who are very much on the rise in Israel. So it's clear that what Jordan Peterson's doing not only serves Israel, but serves the worst in Israel. Because in Israel, believe it or not, there are people who hold views that are completely opposed to Benjamin Netanyahu, for example. Yes, there are a minority, but still. And outside of Israel, you have many Israelis who are very much fiercely against Israel and have very interesting stories to tell. Why bring people who have political motives and political agendas and portray them as somehow the peace-seeking people when you well know that they have an agenda and are working to promote specific things to do with their point of view against other people, which includes mountains of lies. At the end of the day, it's clear, because when it comes to Israel and Israeli Hasbara, their main and only aim is to promote Israeli interests. And Jordan Peterson, whether he likes to admit or not admit, is a part of that Hasbara system, and he's promoting Israeli actions in their worst forms in Israel and outside of it.